Hey everybody, it's CJ Graham, Jason Voorhees. That's right, Friday the 13th, part 6. And you're listening to thescenesnobs.com.
Now that I'm on Noom, there are so many leftovers. Try Noom today. Check out our affiliate link.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Scene Snobs Reviews. I am your host, Mick Manhattan, and this is where I come out, I tell you my my feelings on the movie, my reviews, and we're doing Hellraiser from 2022, the new reboot movie, of course. If you guys have any comments, please feel free to comment along. I do read them, and at the end, we kind of go over and we have a conversation about it. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. If you've seen it, let me know your opinion. But before we get into it, just to kind of give you what it's about, Hellraiser is about, it's a reboot of sorts of the 1987 film of the same name, directed by Clive Barker, written by Clive Barker. And it follows Riley, a recovering drug addict who, with her boyfriend, find a box. I think we know what box that is. And it's a lament box, of course. And as she opens it, she is infected, of course. And the demons show up, including Pinhead, now played by Jamie Clayton in a gender swapped role. And actually, all of the Cenobites, I believe, except for one, were all gender swapped. So it was a different take on that. And she has to her brother also gets taken through this, and she has to go and find souls for the Cenobites, or else she cannot be released. So there's a lot more to the story there. I don't want to give away too much. I don't want to take away anybody's experience in seeing it. Spoilers on something so fresh and so new, I try to stay away from. So to get into my feelings on it, I kind of talk about how I felt about the movie and what I thought walking away from it, and then I'll give a rating, and then we can go over any comments if there are, and so on and so forth. So I will admit right off the bat, Hellraiser from 1987 is not, and the franchise in a whole is not one of my go-tos when it comes to horror. I've seen it about 4 or 5 times in my life. Once when I was younger, to actually just see it, just to see what Hellraiser was all about, because it was always this movie that was like so over the top, so grotesque, such horrifying material that as a kid in the 80s, you were never going to see it until you were older. And then so I watched it then, I watched it as a teenager and kind of went on and I've watched the franchise since then. And so in watching the movie and seeing this, like, I was going into it, I was like, all right, it needs a reboot. The franchise absolutely desperately needed a reboot. It just wasn't the same. Like, I would say the first 3 are good to watch, maybe the 4th, but really, just the first 3 in my opinion. And then so everything afterwards, it was like, this needs new life. This needs new blood pumped into it. And after watching this movie, I don't know that this was the blood that it needed pumped into it. It's getting rave reviews. People seem to really like it. I'm reading a lot of those reviews. I'm not understanding a lot of them because I think they might. I don't know if they're comparing it to the franchise in a whole or they're comparing it to the original. But the original movie, even though it's not like one I gravitate towards, I have a lot of respect for because it really went all out and it really did a lot. And the themes that they were following in it, the sexuality and the pleasure and what they were kind of going for, were of course touched down on this, but in no way, shape, or form were they playing to the sexuality of it and the desire aspect and things like that. And one of the things I didn't love about the original was the story seemed very soap opera-ish. The the wife that's stepping out on her husband with his brother, and the stepdaughter that's involved. Like, it's something I feel like if you took all the horror elements out of it, you'd see it on a soap opera clear as day, or a Lifetime movie even. But because the horror elements are in there, and because the themes are in there, and what happens to Frank, the brother, and things like that, it was so visceral. It added, like, that story was simple, but it was enhanced by what was going on around it, and all of the themes that Clive Barker, in directing the movie, added to it. This movie did not hold up to that, in my opinion. In fact, if I was comparing it to the original, I would say the first three are probably better than this movie, and then this movie is better than the rest of the franchise. But in my opinion, that's not saying much. So it's a beautiful movie. I like David Bruckner, who directed the movie. I like his movies a lot. The Ritual is a really good one that I enjoyed. Southbound, another one. But this movie, to me, just seemed more out of touch with what the book and the original movie were doing and what they were setting forth on and exploring. It just didn't hold up to me, and the story was fine. It was a simple story, but it wasn't as good because there was no enhancement of it. There was no adding to it, and I didn't like that aspect of it. And now, is it a movie that can be watched over and over again? I'm sure if you really liked it, you can check it out, but it just doesn't really seem to hold up to me. Like, I don't know that I would watch this again. It kind of falls in line with a lot of the other movies in the franchise. And I said maybe the first three might be better than it, but really, I would probably only watch the first two again if it came up to it. Like, I don't know that I would ever watch the first Hellraiser again, because it's not even one of my go-tos. And I've seen it enough times in my life. So I don't want to trash it. If people really liked it, that's great. And I'm glad you got something from it. And again, the story wasn't bad. It was a simple story. It just wasn't enhanced by what we were getting. It just seemed like it was more, we were supposed to want to see the Cenobites, and you do, of course. And there was a lot of controversy, which was stupid controversy, honestly, but that there was a gender swap to it and to the role of Pinhead. But I mean, Jamie Clayton did fine, but it wasn't a blow me out of the water performance. None of the actors blew me out of the water with their performance in this movie. They weren't standouts, in my opinion, especially Pinhead, who is supposed to do that. And I think Doug Bradley had a gravitas to him when he added to that role that really did that and brought this character to life. Now, am I saying that's only and so I don't get bitten and my head bitten off in the comments? I'm not saying that has to be a man who could do that in any way, shape, or form. It's fine. I'm just saying that this actor didn't do that for me in this movie. It didn't add to it. It was just kind of like, okay, Pinhead, but it just seemed hollow. It didn't seem like a lot to it. It was fine compared to the wrapping of the movie that was surrounding it, this character. So nothing really stood out, and it was less gory and violent than the original. It was very underwhelming. I think that's probably the best word to use in this review, is that it was an underwhelming movie. It just didn't stand out. Like, now I will say this, like, there's a lot of movies in the franchise, in the Hellraiser franchise, where I will just say they're bad. They're very bad. I wouldn't say that this is bad. I would just say it's underwhelming, especially considering all the reviews it's getting right now. And it just, every review I'm reading seems to miss the mark on what the original was doing and set out to do. They probably never read the book, because they don't really touch down on it. And it doesn't work, I didn't think. I don't know if it would be open for sequels or they'd want to do them. But this isn't I didn't think this was a movie to build a franchise on, and I just didn't really enjoy it. Honestly, it was just so underwhelmed. So my rating for this is 2.5. It's very middle of the road, because it's still a very pretty movie. It has a cohesive story that in the third act I think it gets lost also in its own, like, physics that it's making up in its own world. And when it gets lost in that, it's because it kind of changes certain things up, where you're kind of like, well, what is this? why can this happen, but this can't? Yeah. And why is it happening now, but it couldn't happen before? It was a very odd choice. And it seemed like they went the easy way out on a few things than actually add more to it, to try and it didn't rely on its characters to completely work its way out in some situations. It relied on the easy way out. And I just didn't, that kind of took me out of it a bit too. So yeah, it's 2.5 out of 5 for me. Lament boxes, as I said before. So one thing I didn't really like about it is it added more to the lore than the original movie did. So it's kind of cool to learn more about like what the different configurations of the box were, and and why they're called that, and what they represent with the Cenobites. So that was cool that they did that. So there are some very cool elements to it, and I think it's worth a watch if you're a horror fan. Like I said, middle of the road isn't something that I say is bad. I just said I was underwhelmed by it. I just don't think it fit the motif or went or did what the original did, and why that sticks out. None of the movies after the first one really ever did again what the first one did. The second one tried to touch on it as much as it could, but it just didn't work like the first one did, and why that was one that really shined. And also, I truly think that it's Doug Bradley's performance as Pinhead because of the way he handled it, the way he did it. And I don't care what gender Pinhead was, and Jamie Clayton was fine, but I think it would have probably worked better with an older actor in there, female, male, whatever, any buddy couldn't sit in. I just think that an older would have carried it a little bit more. Like Doug Bradley was an older man at that time. He was like in his 40s, or around that age. So it kind of held a little bit more, and I think that would have worked with this one. But it wasn't a performance that I truly thought stood out. All right, let's get to the comments. Chris Harris is here. I'm kind of excited for this. I'm sorry if I took you away from that, but I do think you should check it out, and I would love to hear what you have to say about it. Make sure you comment, or you're on the Discord, so just join in on the Discord and let's have a conversation there. I'd love to hear it on the horror page. So, guys, anybody, please let me know. Again, I'm not trying to trash the movie or anything like that. I think it's a fine movie. Go check it out. Horror fans, it's Halloween. It's worth at least seeing, but this was one that just doesn't stick out for me, and I'd rather watch the original than this one again. So, but I'm anxious to, my mind can always be changed. I'd love to hear what other people have to say, or maybe if I miss something, let me know. I'm always willing to, change my mind if it comes to that, or if I learn something new about it that might be interesting. But thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you. You can go check out any one of our shows. We have the Scene Snobs Podcast, which is all new this week. We had a really good time with it. So go check that out. It's live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. or you can listen to it anytime or watch it on our YouTube channel anytime after that. We have an all new Real Combat out. That's where two movie fans debate why I should watch their movie. Tomorrow we have a new episode of Does It Suck, where we go back and we watch old movies and we determine, does it suck? We had a special 3-year anniversary party of the Scene Snobs yesterday. So that show is available and you can listen to it or watch it anytime. We also have our Friday morning drive live show. It's a radio show in the morning. You can watch it on YouTube or check it out anytime after. That started today and it's out and available for you to check out. I want to say thank you guys for watching. And until next time, hang out, have a good time. We'd love to hear from you, and we will talk to you guys very soon. Take care. Thank our awesome patrons. Tim, Paul, Stacy, Matt, Aaron, Chris S, Chris H,
Dan, John B, Ron, Jason, AJ, Radar, and John W. We love you all. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, you help us keep the lights on, and you guys are amazing. And if you guys want to join, we have 3 tiers available, all different prices, things like that. And it helps us go a long way in keeping these shows going and stuff like that. So patreon.com/thescenesnobs is where to go.
And make sure to check us out on our Discord. Join and be part of the Snobs Nation, where we all get together. We have fun conversation. We basically carry on all the stuff we do here, just in a better form and cooler format by some awesome moderators who we are super grateful for. So it'd be great to see you. Make sure to join up so you can stay in touch with your favorite snobs.
And guys, remember to hit that like button on this video if you're watching it. And if you're on YouTube, please subscribe to us. If you're not on YouTube right now, head over and check out the Scene Snobs on YouTube and subscribe, because it helps us go a long way, helps us, with producing these shows and monetizing and things like that. We have great shows like, of course, the Scene Snobs Podcast live every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. The Scene Snobs Morning Drive live show, which is brand new, but it's on Fridays from 7 to 10 a.m. And then we have other shows pop up like Real Combat, Does It Suck, Geek Fest Live, Scene Snobs Movie Reviews, Plot Roast, and we have more coming.
And then we also have merch. Don't you want to assail yourself of some of the finest finery ever, anywhere, perhaps historically? Well, pop on over to thescenesnobs.com. You can go from there to our merch store, and you can get some amazing stuff, because I know the morning drive is no good without that mug in the morning.
That's true. And we actually have just to note, we do have Tumblr mugs that you can get with our logo on it. There's more available on the site. Go check it out. Guys, make sure you're following us on all social medias, because we do different things. We have different daily videos, stuff like that. Pictures that we are always popping up. Follow us at the Scene Snobs everywhere, or you can follow Casey at Plotimus21 on Instagram, at Casey the Madman on TikTok, at Twitter Night on Twitter.